Gump Report. I just finished my AEW review. I believe this video should be released Friday or Saturday. I'm not sure when. I'm so angry that this happened. I'm so angry that my original video I accidentally deleted because I was stressing out about a problem in my bank. Pissed me off. But like I said in the AEW review, I fixed it. I got it straightened out. It's all right. No problem with my bank. And now I have to redo this video, which is fine because the original video that did talk about what happened with Jordan Grace and X with Naomi, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about some new information that I just came across. I'm going to talk about it right now, Jeff Jarrett and the potential buying of TNA. It has already been reported by PW Insider that Jeff Jarrett was approached and asked, "Hey Jeff, what would you think about buying TNA? Is there a potential there?" He says, "Well, it depends. It depends on the situation, the money, and and how much you can get for it, generally speaking." Now, what does that mean? We know Scott D'Amore, and I got the other part of the Gump Report will be about Scott D'Amore because something's interesting happening with him. But what happened with Scott, we still don't know what's going on. And even PW Insider is still reporting that it's a possibility that he has been sent home, paid, and to be doing nothing for the rest of the year until 2025. So he's home, he's been paid, and is staying home because that's what the agreement was. So we still don't know. I do not believe there was any type of sexual allegations, any type of criminal activity, nothing. It was just the current CEO of Anthem just did not agree with Scott, and he said, "You know what? We're done. This is how it's going to go. I am going to keep you on the contract." Well, technically he did fire him, but I'm going to pay you to stay home. You're going to get a good sum of money. Stay home. You're fired, but stay home. And that's it. And everyone's wondering what the hell happened with Scott. So since then, what have we gotten from TNA? You haven't gotten any new sets other than what Scott made, because by the time Scott left, the new sets were already in place. You already know that. So whatever has been already done was done when Scott was there. All that stuff that has already been done with the cameras, I do believe with the cameras, with whatever they could do with audio and the new sets, that was Scott's doing. Not the new president of TNA, but Scott. So with that, what else do we get? The collaboration between TKO WWE, which is TKO NXT, and TNA. And that probably was under Scott as well. So what have we gotten that's new? Not much. Even Jordan Grace, more than a month or a month and a half ago, had already stated in her own statement in a podcast that nothing has changed. That's what she said. And when, as I said before, when you get the management of a company complaining that the ratings are not good, even though they sent one of their most top stars to another company, and that top star, Jordan Grace, says an X, telling her own people, "Hey, don't blame me about that. That's not my fault." And then having to delete it because she doesn't want to get in trouble with her own bosses, shows you there's an issue. So, questioning Jeff Jarrett about, "Hey, would you consider buying TNA?" It's not too out of left field. So what would happen if he did try to buy TNA? Well, it's going to depend on what the situation is currently in TNA. We do not know how management has been reorganized. We know that 3 people have been released. One of those people currently right now is working in AEW for their writing team. Yes. So I'm sure it's writing team in AEW, not NXT. It's AEW. So when you look at the situation, if Jeff buys TNA, let's say he does buy it, he's got a lot of work to do because whoever has been there, who's either been an issue, who is a new hire, like Ace Steele's a new hire. He's part of production. And then you have basically people who have been working in the creative aspects like Tommy Dreamer, Gail Kim, and a couple of other people, will he get rid of them? Will he keep them on under his leadership? It is hard to say. And then will the wrestlers be interested in staying with their contracts? Because let's be clear, the current contracts of TNA don't work the way they work in TKO WWE or to a certain extent in AEW. They don't even give them full contracts. A lot of times they just pay them to come in and wrestle. And there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times when they need more people to prop up their divisions, like the Knockouts division, the Knockouts tag division, the X division, the tag division, the Digital Media Championship, and the world title, they don't have any independent wrestlers coming in to get paid to at least let these people have fresh meat to grind through so you'll feel like the company's bigger than it is. They don't even do it. So Jeff will have a lot of problems if he does take over, because if he wants to make this company feel more legitimate, one, he's got to hire people. He's got to hire possibly new production, possibly new creative, or add to the creative. And then when it comes to dealing with venues, he's got to get better venues that are live. You cannot just do recordings all the time. That's one of the major problems TNA has. They got too many recordings. Then, the aspect of, how can I say this? When you see the wrestlers, one of the major problems you're going to have is that you're seeing the same wrestlers over and over and over and over again. And nothing changes. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem here is this. Oh, I better do it better that. The problem here is this. They need new faces. Now, if you can't hire the people that you really need for more than a year or two, at least make sure the stories, and at least make sure not only that you got credible wrestlers that are on the roster, that are being paid, that are in contract, but you give them fresh meat to grind through. You cannot think that just a few stories are enough anymore. It's not. They need way more, way more. And that's one of the major issues TNA has. And that is what Jeff would have to do. Jeff would have to reorganize the production team and get the equipment needed to do replacement on the equipment. He also has to make sure he has the right people in those places, like with the cameramen, must do the right job. Remember what they were doing. That was bullshit. People want to see what's in the ring when you're at home. We don't need the cinematics of Vince McMahon. Then the audio. Then lighting. Then deciding to go to different venues and to be live in those venues. Unlike when it came to WWE and Vince, where he was so set in his ways that he would not change. If you look at Jeff Jarrett, he's not the same person. I even said this in my previous video when I made it. Jeff is not the same person he was when he first founded TNA with his father and I think one other person. I can't remember who it is. He's a different person now. He had severe problems drinking, severe problems with depression, and now he's in a different place. So he could actually be better than he originally was when he brought forth Global Force Wrestling, which really didn't get anywhere. TNA was his bread and butter. He couldn't get it, so this is what we got. So what would he do? Like I said, either get rid of people on the creative team or add. Production, get rid of or add. Bring in independent wrestlers that can be used as fresh meat for the wrestlers you currently have on the main roster. See if they work out. Let them stay. Let them have even their short contracts of 6, 9, or 10 months or a year and a half or 2. And be willing to go to venues, as you've already updated the sets. You already updated the lighting, the audio, the cameras, and hopefully get good cameramen that will not go like this. You literally make sure that it's done correctly with live events in different venues. Even if you can't get 1,000 people in, at least let people know that you are doing live events more than just once every 4 or 5 months. You got to do it. But this is just me. Now, let's go to the other half of this story. Scott D'Amore. And if you haven't noticed, if you don't check the sites, Scott D'Amore is on a very different venture in pro wrestling. Right now, Scott D'Amore has done something interesting. He has his own Con Air training school. He also has Border City Wrestling. But this is where it gets interesting. If you check the reports out, and I do believe it was through PW Insider, they're still speculating that he's staying home because he's been paid to stay home. Because of whatever agreement the CEO of Anthem made with him. But while he's been home, Border City Wrestling has been doing trademarks. No, was it Border City Wrestling or was it Maple Leaf Wrestling? I believe Maple Leaf Wrestling was doing a trademark of 2 names. Maximum Pro Wrestling and Pro Max. And no, Max Pro. Sorry, Max Pro. And also, when you see that Border City Wrestling is still under his control, Maple Leaf Wrestling is under his control. I think he's, well, not under his control, but maybe he might have made a decision to purchase it. And then, when it came to Maximum Pro Wrestling, which exists between, 2010 to 2012 in Florida, this is where it gets interesting. We may get a new possible promotion that is a combination of Border City Wrestling and Maple Leaf Wrestling, and they may rebrand it as Maximum Pro Wrestling. This is where it gets a little interesting. And you wonder, if he wasn't going to do this, what were we actually going to get if he stayed on with TNA? He's doing this now, and I don't think he was going to do this originally. But I'm wondering, he owned Border City Wrestling. What would happen if he combined it with TNA? He would get more people in with more of a budget and more work. And if he has contact with the original owners of Maple Leaf and had the money to buy it as well, what would happen if Border City Wrestling and Maple Leaf Wrestling had combined with TNA Wrestling? You would have double or triple the amount of people that you would have with possibly an increased budget coming from 2 different companies. And next to the trademarks of Maximum Pro Wrestling and Max Pro, he was also getting trademarks for merchandise, for names, for songs. If this is what he might have been considering for TNA, the combining of, and it's no guarantee was, but if he was thinking, okay, I need to do something to make TNA a little more important. I still have my company, Border City Wrestling. And Maple Leaf might actually be available. And they got some good stuff there. Maybe if I combine all 3 companies, this might mean something. And that's if he was doing that. He might have just been trying to make TNA bigger. And he got stopped. So now, if I'm right, he wants to combine 2 different companies under the brand of an original company that he was involved with for 2 years that he probably has parts of the rights of. That's the reason why he was doing for the trademarks. This is true. That he has been forced, that because he could not get TNA, he gave a fair offer to the CEO of Anthem, he outright refused, and now the speculation, again I'm saying it, the speculation that he was sent home with a good amount of cash and just told, shut the fuck up, take the money, I'm firing you, take this money and don't do anything until next year. He said, okay, you give me this money, and I got my own money, particularly the money I got from the bank to try and make an offer. Why not get my company and another company where I do believe I know the person who's running it and may offer to me, combine the 2, use the old trademark of a company back in Florida for 2 years from 10 to 12 that I helped work on and may have founded, I think he did found some of it, and I'll make a new company. Fuck them. I'm going to do what I can to drive TNA out of business or compete with TNA, and maybe I can buy it. That's just me. He may want to buy it, or he just wants to just compete. Don't know. This is what it looks like, though. That he's going to take his own money, the money he got from the bank, combine it with his own original company, Border City Wrestling, with Maple Leaf Wrestling, put them together, use the name that he had from a company back over 12 years ago when it closed down, and make a new company and either compete with TNA or to drive it out of business, which I don't think he can, but that's like a fringe thing. But to compete, to actually have a company, this is going to be interesting. But it's just me, and I'm sorry this video is late. It'll probably be released Friday or Saturday. I hope you enjoy the Gump reports, and sorry. Peace.